Welcome back to Nick Shares. So today, a while back, I did a what if the DCU was structured like the MCU series. It was like a 3-part series. That was essentially like an overview of what I would have done if I did it, sort of. But now, I'm going to be doing a much longer series that is basically going to take each of those movies and shows one by one, and I'm basically going to talk about them specifically in a video, go more in depth over what I think would happen, essentially kind of like an overview, and then I can, like, what if I wrote the movie. Of course, this is a much shorter version of it. I'm sure they would add much more scenes than just what I have here. This is just like an overview of what I would do. In fact, this is really more like just like an episode length type thing going on here. But, we're just going to go with it. Hope you guys enjoy. Because we're going to be starting off the first project, the first movie of Phase 1 of this universe with The Batman. This movie, it's of course going to be our replacement for Iron Man. And this movie is, well, keep in mind, this is not going to be an origin story in any way. This is a Batman who's been doing it for basically like a decade now. He's been Batman for about a decade now. So he's definitely not inexperienced. He's definitely a very experienced vigilante, and it's meant to evoke a lived-in world because I will say Dick Grayson has already left. He's already Nightwing. Barbara Gordon is already Oracle, so this is sort of also an origin story in a way for Jason Todd as Robin and Luke Fox as Batwing. It's kind of an origin story for them as the first Bat team that we see, but we'll get into that in there. But, of course, we're just gonna get right into it. But first, before we actually talk about it itself, I'm going to talk about the cast, because I actually put together a cast. And I'm going to do this before, I'm going to talk about who I chose, of course. When it comes to, like, actors reprising their roles in second and more films afterwards, I'm not going to talk about why I chose them. I'm only going to talk about them in their first film appearance. So, we're going to start off, of course, cast. This is going to be our cast for the movie. Starting off with the big man, Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman himself. I chose Karl Urban, who I would want to play the character. I've seen a lot of people fan cast him, and I agree. I think he would make a great choice for the role of Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman. And, of course, so, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so we're going to get on into our next person, Alfred Pennyworth, his butler. I chose Michael Gambon. And, of course, I chose him, obviously, because Dumbledore.
Harry, you put your name in the goblet of fire.
No, not that Dumbledore, this Dumbledore.
I'm reminded of a sobering fact. Every day, every hour, this very minute perhaps, dark forces attempt to penetrate this castle's walls. But in the end, their greatest weapon is you.
So yeah, essentially that's why I would cast him, just because, he's Dumbledore, and I think it would really work. Anyway, after that, we're going to get into our other main character in Batman's inner circle, and that is Commissioner Gordon, who I cast Bryan Cranston. I think he would make a great Commissioner Gordon. I think he would do great in the role, and overall, I think he just would do a great Commissioner Gordon. So yeah. Next up is our villain, Tommy Elliot, a.k.a. Hush. This is not going to be a representation of the Hush storyline. This is my own story involving Hush, and I chose Jake Gyllenhaal just because I think he would make a pretty good Hush. I think he would do pretty good as sort of a friend turned enemy to Karl Urban's Batman. So yeah, he's going to be and also, I will also mention, technically, Karl Urban also plays Tommy Elliot, aka Ash. You'll find out what I'm talking about later. Anyway, next up we have Lucius Fox, played by Giancarlo Esposito. I think he would do great in the role. Yeah, I think he would make a great Lucius Fox. Now, coming from Lucius Fox to the next Fox, Mr. Luke Fox, who I chose, John Boyega. If you look side by side, he looks like the comic book, Luke Fox. Plus, he has Star Wars and Pacific Rim, so he's not shy to big blockbuster movies or superhero movies, so I think he would make a great Luke Fox, aka Batwing, in the future of the movies. And for our Robin, Jason Todd Robin, a lot of people, I went with Timothy Chalamet. A lot of people say he would make a good Dick Grayson Nightwing. But in this universe, he's a little too young for the character of Dick Grayson Nightwing. And so I instead went with him as my Jason Todd Robin, just because he's a little too young, and I think he just wouldn't really, I think he would do a better job in the role of Jason Todd Robin. Next up, we have a cameo of, 2 scenes. Selena Kyle, Catwoman. I chose Hannah John Common, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but I went with her, of course, played Ghost. I just thought she would make a pretty good Catwoman, and yeah, so that is the Catwoman that I chose. And then also our last one here, John Hamm as Thomas Wayne, not Martha Wayne, because we're not doing the Wayne murders in this movie. But he will appear in a flashback because Thomas Wayne does factor into this movie. He does factor into a flashback, but, however, Martha Wayne does not. So that's our cast for this movie. That's the characters that will appear in this. There will technically be another character. That's actually all the characters that actually have roles in what this is. Of course, there would be other characters, and I'm sure some characters would probably have a bigger role than others at that moment, but right now, that's all we got, so we're just going to go with it. This is just a rough outline of it, so we're going to start off with, we're just going to go into it. I divided it into a 3-act project, and it's going to be the 3-act movie, and then, yeah. And so we're just going to get into it. I also have a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene to, of course, hype up the Batman 2, both of which hype up the Batman 2, but that will not be the next movie. I'll talk about the next movie after that. Also, quick side note, this series, I am going to change a little bit from my original idea in that what if the DCU was structured like the MCU series. I'm going to differ a little bit. I'll tell you when I do. So, yeah, I'll let you know when I do. You'll see, but currently this is The Batman movie. So, let's get into it. We open on a Gotham City rooftop, where 3 thugs wearing Joker masks are spray painting a building. One of them is concerned and starts worrying about Batman showing up. The others reassure him that Batman wouldn't care about people like them. They're too low level. He's too busy with giant crocodiles and exploding penguins. Just then, we see a shadowy figure moving around. He makes a sound and the 3 thugs turn back to back. One of them suggests that they split up to find the figure, but the timid one says, "That's a terrible idea." The others don't listen to him and then split up. One by one, the 2 are snatched into the shadows, scream as they do, leaving the fearful one left. Then, we finally get our first shot at Batman. The thug takes off his mask and says he will stop being a criminal. However, Batman then grabs him and strings him up on a beam overlooking the street. The thug starts to flail his arms and legs, but Batman just says, "I wouldn't squirm too much. You may unhook yourself. It's a long way down." He then returns to the shadows, leaving the thug screaming as we also see the other two tied up. We then cut to the Batmobile arriving in the Batcave. Batman comes out greeted by Alfred Pennyworth. Alfred tells him that Jason wasn't thrilled he didn't let him go on patrol. Bruce then takes off his cowl and says he's still too young and he's gonna work for a bit. Alfred then explains that he's been working non-stop for a week. He suggests going to Tommy Elliott's party, then saying that Bruce was one of the first people to get an invite. Bruce agrees and tells Alfred that he's going to go alone and to tell Jason that it's school night. We then cut to Tommy Elliott's 36th birthday party. Bruce Wayne pulls up and is immediately swarmed by cameras. He walks in to see Tommy Elliott greet him. They talk about some old times, and Tommy asks how Jason's doing. Bruce explains he's still a fireball like teenager. Tommy then says, "I remember when we were like that." They laugh and have a drink before Tommy steps up to the podium. He delivers a speech about doing better in Gotham. He wants to help people. We cut to the end of the party as a drunk Bruce drives back home. He talks with Alfred and reassures him that he is fine. Just then, a grenade is tossed under the car, and the car flips continuously until eventually stopping as we see Bruce is badly injured. We then see quick flashes of him being rushed to the hospital, where Dr. Tommy Elliott helped save his life from the injuries. We then see while Bruce is unconscious, a flashback to when Tommy and Bruce were little kids. Like in the comics, Bruce is unsuccessful in beating Tommy. Thomas Wayne comes in giving the sad news that Tommy's parents died in a car crash. Tommy walks away while Bruce worries about his friend. Bruce then wakes up to see Jason Todd, Alfred Pennyworth, and Lucius Fox standing around his bedside. Lucius leave. Luke Fox walks down the hallway. Lucius and Luke have a talk about responsibility, and Lucius wanting Luke to join the Bat family. Luke turns it around by saying he has responsibility to being a pilot. Lucius levels with him, saying he is very proud of him for becoming the great pilot that he is, but that Lucius wants to be loyal to his friends, and in his mind, friends are more important. Dun, 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 dun. We flash to a week later, where Bruce returns to the mansion with Alfred and Jason. He asks them how crime has been doing. Jason explains, everyone's been looking for Batman. The GCPD have been really working 24/7. Alfred explains it's best for him to rest. Bruce then says no, and that he is going to go talk to Commissioner Gordon. We then see Jason and Alfred look at each other, worried. We cut to the GCPD rooftop, where Gordon and Batman are talking about crime in Gotham. Gordon says that Black Mask has been doing stuff, but he was taken in. We hear more talk from the two of them about the city, about what the city has been doing. Maybe get some more villain references. They end the conversation on Gordon saying he's glad Bruce is okay. Yes, he knows Bruce's identity. Gordon leaves. As he's leaving, Catwoman swings up to the roof. She says she's been waiting for him to leave because she's technically on the GCPD's wanted list. They have some banter, and we find out that they were once in a relationship. Catwoman explains that she heard about his accident. Yes, she knows too, and that's why they broke up. She tells him she's heard chatter about a new criminal named Hush. They start talking about him. Then a sniper hits Batman, and luckily he's okay. The two run after the sniper, but he disappears. She tells him that she'd keep him updated on Hush. Bruce thanks her, then leaves, scaling the building. Just then, he is jumped and put into a car. Jason and Alfred head down to the Batcave. Alfred tells him that Bruce was waiting for the right moment to give him this, but Alfred believes Jason's ready. He goes over to the case with a tarp over it. Lifts off the tarp to reveal the Robin costume. Alfred then says, and since we've lost signal with him, I think he will need backup. Meanwhile, Bruce wakes up in a dark room that's been tied up with goons surrounding him. They move to reveal Hush, who is standing at a medical table with tools on it. He fiddles with a scalpel. Bruce asks him if he is going to kill him. Hush laughs and says, "No, I would never, Bruce." Bruce is shocked and quickly tries to deny it, saying, "Who's Bruce?" Hush lashes out, saying, "Don't toy with me," and removes the cowl to show Bruce's face. We get a conversation between the two about morals, Hush saying that they're the same. They're both murderers. Bruce says he doesn't kill anymore. Hush then explains that he knows a lot about Bruce. Bruce then puts it all together. His voice, the medical equipment. Hush is Tommy Elliot. Tommy! That's right, Bruce. No wonder they call you the world's greatest detective. Bruce is shocked at the realization that his oldest friend, the guy who saved his life just days ago, was the one who also tried to kill him. Tommy explains that he wants to break Bruce, mentally and physically. He wants to take everything from Bruce, just like Bruce's father did to save him when he saved his mother instead of his father. He was ticked off ever since. His first murder was his mother when he was 16. Just then, Jason comes crashing in, beating up all the thugs. Then he stands before. Stay away from him. Hush laughs. Boy, you don't understand what's going on. Jason is confused, but he throws an explosive batarang, which throws Hush backwards. Jason unhooks Bruce and gives his cowl. They escape. We cut to the Wayne Enterprises building. Lucius Fox, now acting CEO, was sitting at his desk as Luke walks in. He apologizes for him blowing up the other night. They have a heart-to-heart about how Luke wants to follow his own path, and he believes that that's being a pilot, not being in the Bat family. Lucius apologizes for putting the pressure on him. Luke and Lucius walk out to find Hush standing there. Hush tells Luke that he has no quarrel with him. Lucius tells his son to go. Luke runs off to find a hiding spot. Lucius asks Hush why he is here. Hush explains he has nothing against Fox, but he wants to take everything from Bruce, starting with Lucius. He shoots Lucius as Luke watches in horror. Then Hush struts off. Once he's sure Hush is gone, Luke runs over to Lucius. He tells his father that he's sorry. He tells Luke that he's sorry. Luke watches in deep sadness as his father dies in his arms. We return to the Batcave, where Bruce and the team are devising a plan, when Luke storms in. "Did you know that my dad was killed by Hush? Where were you?" Bruce looks at Luke. "I'm so sorry. We're currently devising a plan to stop Hush." "And then what?" Luke continues to lash out, saying that Batman won't kill him, but Luke will, as he storms out. Jason says we need to stop him. Bruce looks at Jason. "We're not doing anything. You're lucky to even be here. I saved your life, and I thank you for that. But if he is after those who I care about, then it's best I face this alone." Then Jason storms off after Luke. As Bruce slumps into his chair, he looks at an old college photo of him, Tommy, and Harvey Dent. He tells Alfred that he doesn't think he can do it. He doesn't want to face his friend. Alfred tells him how proud he is of the man he has become. He says that he knows Bruce won't kill, but he must think how far will Hush go. Bruce thinks back to the chess match. Tommy was always 10 steps ahead of him. Bruce has to think smart. Where would Tommy go? Then he knows. He tells Alfred, the abandoned oil cannery on Gotham Harbor. It's where his parents crashed. He gets into the Batmobile and races there. Luke and Jason will also have a scene here. Bruce arrives at an armed guard squad. Batman quickly defeats them all. Batman runs to find Hush smugly walking upstairs. He yells down, "Your whole family does nothing but murder and take away." "Nobody is coming for you, Bruce." The two run up the stairs. They get to a balcony. There, Hush starts taking off his bandages to reveal himself as Bruce Wayne. He explains how he felt it fitting that he show what a murderer he is, saying he wanted the face of the man who killed him to be his own. He started fighting Hush, not being better at hand-to-hand combat. However, he is winning because Bruce is weaker after his last few days. Hush taunts Batman, saying that Batman will eventually kill him. Luke and Jason pull up to see Batman and Hush up above. They run up to see the two reaching the edge. Luke pulls out a gun, yelling, "This is for my dad!" He fired, but missed, as the fight between Bruce and Tommy is so fast. Luke takes another shot, misses again. Tommy pushes Bruce towards them. Bruce tells Luke to stop, that he doesn't want Luke to go down that path. Hush laughs, saying, "Yes, Luke. Don't kill me. I'm saving myself for Batman." Just then, Luke says that he has one shot left, and that he can make it, but Bruce tells him, "You kill one person, there's no telling you won't kill another, and another, and another, until you're just like him, a murderer." Just then, Hush lunges at Luke and grabs the gun. Luke and Jason stand ready to fight. Hush steps back, and Bruce tells them to get out. Jason tells Bruce that he isn't going to leave him. Bruce tells them that they've done great, but that they need to leave this to the professional. They run away as Bruce stands up to face Hush. The two start fighting more as the music intensifies. Hush pulls out the gun, instead of shooting Bruce. He shoots one of the oil canisters below, causing the ground below them to explode. "You missed," Bruce snarls. "Did I? I just love intensity. Now it all comes down. One of us will die tonight, either you or me. I've accepted my fate. Have you? I'm willing to kill you. Are you willing to kill me to save your life? This whole building is going down. No escape." Bruce looks around at all his options. The building starts shaking as Luke and Jason stumble, only to see what's happening above. Luke tells Jason that this is where he makes his dad proud. Luke prepares to run in after Bruce, but Jason stops him, saying that Bruce is his dad. If Luke is going to risk his life for Bruce, then so was Jason. Luke tells Jason to give him his comlink. Jason does. Luke tells Alfred to send the Batwing. The Batwing zooms out of the Batcave. Meanwhile, the fight between Bruce and Hush is escalating. Hush yells, "I always saw you as a friend." But sometimes you have to make the hardest choices. Just then, Luke and Jason fly in the Batwing. Bruce prepares to jump up to it, but Hush catches him, and they both start following. Bruce gets a grappling hook to stopping himself, and Hush grabs Bruce's leg. Bruce then says, "Hang on, Tommy, I got you." However, Tommy just looks up and smiles. "I told you, one of us will die tonight." He releases Bruce's leg, and Hush falls into the fire. The GCPD and Gotham Fire Department arrive with Commissioner Gordon looking up in horror. Bruce is then pulled up into the Batwing and sits in silence as they return to the Batcave. Bruce tells them that Hush died. Luke says, "I'm sorry for your friend. Besides, being a murderous psycho, he seems like a good guy." They come to the Batcave. Just by their expressions, Alfred can tell what happened. "I'm sorry, Master Bruce." We cut to 3 weeks later at the funeral of Tommy Elliot and Lucius Fox. Bruce will have moments with everyone: Gordon, Alfred, and Selena Kyle, and lastly, Jason. He steps over, saying, "You know the reason I train you so hard? It's because you remind me of myself and Grayson. We all were young and full of range, only I trained for years to discipline my mind. Grayson already did that. I wanted you to do the same. I see you have, though. So, I would love to have you in the Bat family as the new Robin." The two hug, and the credits roll. We open on Bruce and Luke walking into the Batcave. Bruce says, "Welcome to your dad's workshop," as they enter a room. "This is where your dad made all his gadgets and weapons. But there's a specific reason I brought you in here. Your dad was working on something." He takes off a tarp to reveal the beginnings of the Batwing suit. "I was wondering if you wanted to finish it, Batwing." We cut to Arkham Asylum, where we see prisoners getting their food. An officer moves to the Joker to give the Joker his food. He finds Joker isn't in his cell. An alarm is sounded as the screen goes black. We hear the laugh of the Joker. So that was the Batman movie. Of course, it's really short. You can easily add in more scenes, but that's basically my outline of what I would see in this movie. And I was originally I originally had an actor set for this movie as Joker, but then I decided, looking at the actor, I decided it really doesn't make much sense how good of an actor he is to have him in just one scene. It really just wouldn't really make sense. So I decided, instead, for this movie, that actor can play him in the sequel. As, of course, you know from my What If the DCU Was Structured Like the MCU series, you know that Joker is the main villain of the Batman 2. But, of course, you also know that I'm going to have that actor play him in that movie, and then this would probably just be like an unknown voice actor, just someone to, like, you know, just do that. So yeah, that's about it. Not much else to say. And So I hope you guys enjoyed. The next video in this series will be me talking about the Man of Steel movie, which will be very fun. Super excited about that. We're gonna start getting into the more superhero ones, so we're gonna get some real damage going on. No spoilers, but if you want some hints to the story, you can go back to my What If the DCU Was Structured Like the MCU Part 1, where we have Man of Steel and all of Phase 1 and Phase 2. And if you want any hints to that, go ahead and look back on that, because I am very excited for this one. And I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys next time. Please like and subscribe, and bye.